confidence has to be evidence-based.
I could never be confident without the work that I put in, and I could never, be comfortable going out there and being confident without making sure. Like, if I knew I came to a game and I wasn't as prepared as I could be, I could literally feel that chip on my shoulder and that confidence lacking, and I wouldn't play as well.
This is the Mental Metal Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission to help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they can still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great, they're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mental Metal Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website, get started on the journey to a more confident, successful athlete with Mental Metal Coaching. And welcome back to the Mental Metal Podcast with Coach Thomann here. This is the last episode for the month of June, and all month of June I've had different basketball coaches on. I had Coach Matt Lauer on from Pinckneyville. I had Coach Kim Barth from Washington Community Girls Team, and then I had Josh Williams from the girls team at Clinton. Great coaches, really successful coaches, have done a lot of great things. They have all had little tidbits to add and really good stuff. And I've really been enjoying June here. It's a big month for basketball, and I've been, high school, they just really getting into their summer stuff. It's this hope springs eternal time, and everybody's excited about it, and it's just really cool. And I've had some really, really successful coaches on with a lot of experience. And my guest today is, he's a coach now, but he's the opposite end of the spectrum. Not that he's not successful or wouldn't be, but he just started. He just graduated in May. He played at Millikan University, and he's just starting his coaching career under his dad at Bloomington Central Catholic, Jason Welch, and my guest today is JT Welch. And I thought, what a great conversation it would be, and it ends up being about somebody this, very young, very new, some of the things that he's going to be able to take into coaching, being just barely a former player. I mean, he's a really new at the former part, and there's a lot of youthful enthusiasm that we can pick up, if you've been coaching for a while, to do this. And especially when we talk about JT. Now, if you don't know who JT is, and if you haven't watched him, he went into college and he played at Millikan University, a Division III team at the CCIW, really high level Division III. It's not a scholarship. I always say it's not a scholarship league, but you need scholarship level players to win the league. And JT went into college at, what did I write here? I think 5'9", 135 pounds. I mean, I don't care where you are playing college basketball. That's low. That's a small guy playing college basketball, and he is that. He is. I watched a lot of players, kids watch him play, and he is like something you will hold up and say, "Well, I can play college basketball if that guy can." And there's some truth to that. You can't let size and weight and strength get in your way, but you better make it up with something. And JT made it up with a lot of confidence, tons of work, great point guard skills, great shooting ability. And as he talks about in this episode about playing with a chip on his shoulder constantly. And he talked about that so much. I got really interested into the origin of the term, and it is one of the most literal translations I've ever come across. I looked into it, and it was sometime in early America's guys would go into places and to literally challenge others. They had a chip of wood that they would put on their shoulder, and it was basically, come see if you can knock this off. And it is, again, this extremely literal translation, and it can feel a little bit defensive, the idea of a chip on your shoulder, because it can kind of feel like you're disrespected, and it can be a little bit defensive. But in a guy like JT's situation, when you're coming into college at 5'9", 135, and he ended up getting up to 165, which is a lot better, but still not a big guy. You would have to play like that, because you would have to have such great confidence to be able to do that. And while that chip on your shoulder idea can be very defensive, you'll notice in JT's language and in JT's just his aura, and if you got to know him a little bit, that the chip he had on his shoulder is very much there from the confidence, and it's not arrogance in his case, it's confidence. And there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance is the belief that you can do something even though you don't have any evidence. Confidence is you have the evidence. You have, I always say confidence is evidence-based. And so JT's confidence came from the absolute dog he was in his workout routine and the number of shots that he would get up and the training he would do, because he knew he had to. So when he came in, I'm sure he came into the league getting disrespected just by sight alone. And he had to play with that chip on his shoulder, that chip made out of confidence, of hours in the weight room and hours in the gym and hours of training, and just saying, this is here, come knock it off, because I know it's going to be a little harder than you think it is. And it probably, helped him a little bit. This guy's underestimated him, but it's a really good mindset to have about just building your confidence through these hours. It's the only way that you're going to really get the most out of your potential. And JT, he was at Bloomington Central Catholic. He was a 1,000-point scorer, but then he ended up being a 1,000-point scorer in college. Again, at 5'9", at a really, really tough league. So now the thing is how do you get a guy that's got the physical skills to want to put in that kind of work to build that confidence and then still get their potential? And it's a trick sometimes, and that's hard, but I think that JT is going to do a really good job. We're going to hear some of his story doing the stuff, how he wants to implement some of the stuff with the coaching that he's going to do. And it's just, again, it's a lot of positivity in this, and a guy who's starting his coaching career, and I think he's going to do well. But I'll let you listen to the interview, and I'll chat with you on the other side. All right. Welcome back to the Mental Metal Podcast with my guy here, JT Welch. JT, man, thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the perspective you're going to bring. I've had your dad on the podcast, your dad. How long's your dad been the coach at Bloomington Central?
I believe he told me this is year 19 coming up at Central Catholic.
Yeah, so
So
he coached a little bit before other places,
yep,
stuff like that.
yep,
So
he was at a couple other places
so
before for a couple of years.
so he's been at it a minute, right? He's been
That's right.
coaching for a while, and then how long have you been coaching?
How long have I been coaching?
Yeah,
About 6 or 7 days.
yeah, and I think I just want to put that out there exactly what I'm doing on this podcast because I think that I'm catching you right at this really cool spot. You just finished your basketball career less than what 4 months ago,
Yeah. Yep.
and then
February.
and then now you're right into starting to coach. So it's like I'm hoping we're going to tap into some of this youthful enthusiasm
Yeah.
that is really helpful in coaching.
Yeah. Definitely. I've noticed I have more energy after practices than my dad does. So
I'm sure, right? And and well, part of that's youth, right? You just have more energy. But I think it's just going to be. I'm just really looking forward to this conversation. It'll just be really cool. But I want to talk a little bit about your playing days, and I think that we'll get into kind of a little bit of what this is the Mental Metal podcast, and I think that probably more than anybody I could have on here is for a player, like mentality and mindset. I know were a huge part of your game
yep.
because I know strength and size weren't.
Right. Exactly.
No,
Always
I mean
always and that's something that I think I was filling out the form before I got on here, and I was just thinking of things that I kind of that stuck with me throughout my career. And just having a chip on my shoulder was always something that I used to motivate me and help me get through the times when people aren't there watching you, or you get to see the good things come out of it. But just being there on an everyday basis with me, keeping that chip on my shoulder, really kept me going throughout my career, because I knew that if it came to strength or athleticism or height, or if it came to that, I was in big trouble. So
right. Like, well, let's what now that you don't have to impress anybody on a roster. Like, what's the height weight you played in
so
your last year?
yeah, so I came into Milliken. I believe we did like a bod pod thing where it gets like your exact like body fat percentage and height and weight and all that. But I came in Milliken. I was like 5'9", 135. That's what I came in. I played my freshman year at Milliken. And then this last year I left about, obviously still 5'9". Sadly, I wish I would have been like 6'2" or something. I wish I could have had a late growth spurt, but I was like 5'9", between 160 and 165, and I played at that weight at about like my last 3 years. So yeah, Coach Mack and Coach Sody, they got me on the weights, and I think it was just naturally my body. I just started eating more, and I got up to about 160 by my sophomore year, and then I kind of maintained that around that weight through the rest of my career. So
It's not. Yeah, that's a pretty good weight gain. I mean, you probably had
yeah,
to
for
work at
sure.
it to do that.
Definitely. I mean, it was more of like, I guess I didn't realize how much I needed. I personally, with just the way I am, I needed to eat to actually gain weight. I would have to be like, sick to my stomach to see a pound go up on the scale. And then once I got the hang of it, and it's a lot to do with the coaches at Milliken. Obviously, they pushed me in the weight room, but then honestly, it was more my diet than anything. I had always lifted weights. It was just I wasn't able to put on the weight because I wasn't eating enough, is really all it came down to. But yeah, I'm not the
Yeah.
biggest guy at all. That's for sure.
No, but I thought it was great because whenever I would come and watch you play and watch Lane play and watch your games, I'd occasionally see like some junior high teams or some high school teams there watching, and it's one it, one I think that they always watch everything in warm ups and all that, and then they're like they're shocked that you're even in the starting lineup. One,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then two, they end up by the end. I watched a lot of the kids. They would end up you'd be their favorite player because they could identify with
Yeah.
you, right? They're like,
Right.
look at this,
Exactly. Yeah.
like this kid is about my size and he's out there getting it done, which is
Yeah.
really they really
Right.
they really
Yeah.
enjoy it, right?
Yeah. That's something that I guess now I'm already starting to think coach in my head, but
Oh man, that's rough,
um,
right? Yeah.
yeah, but I guess that's always one thing. I'm like, I don't want to hear, I'm not tall enough or I'm not big enough as an excuse to, you can't help our team win or be an impactful player or athlete and whatever you do. I think that, obviously, yeah, it might be a disadvantage, but you got to find other ways to work harder, be crafty, whatever you're doing, and just outwork. I mean, it simply comes if you don't outwork people and you're have the same size and weight and physique as I do, or you're smaller in whatever sport you do, you got to find other ways to impact the game and outwork other people and make sure that the skills that you can control are on as high of level as you can get them.
Yeah, and I think that's like when you say all these things, um, I talk about this all the time, that it's easy. Those things are easy to say, but most kids, most players don't understand like the hours and extra time it takes for that to
Right.
actually happen. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
I think
Yeah.
we all have this kind of like, we're like, well, I think I've probably done enough. Well, the chances are you probably haven't.
Right. And that's if you think if you often think that you've done enough, then you probably haven't done enough is usually my guess because once you get in the rhythm of giving it all you have, then I don't think you're necessarily even thinking like, oh, I think I've done enough. You'll know when you've done enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, and when we talk about getting it done, like give me your like you had some really at that size and weight. You had some really good years in college at
yeah.
Millikan, which is in one of the best Division III conferences in the nation.
Yep.
And
Uh,
I mean, you had some good years.
yeah. So yeah, I played. I mean, high school is different, obviously. I mean, I was still smaller in high school, but at the 2A level, especially, we were 2A at Bloomington Central Catholic. We weren't, the kids aren't huge, so I wasn't necessarily that undersized in high school. I mean, I was smaller, but it wasn't like a huge disadvantage. So I had a good career there. I scored 1,000 points. I think, like I told you earlier, I think I was like seventh all time in scoring, and I have the most assists ever at Central. And we won a lot of games, and I met a lot of. I played for my dad, which was a blessing, and I have some of my best friends for life that I met in high school. So that was awesome. But yeah, then fast forward to college. That's when I kind of realized, like, yeah, like that's when the undersized aspect of it really kind of came into play for me, I guess. It always was a chip on my shoulder, but then it was like, um, once I got out there with obviously college guys, it was like I kind of had to fight for my life every possession just to fit in, like I had to do my attention to detail had to be so strong that like I had to make sure I anticipated this so I don't get beat here or more so defensively, but offensively as well for me. Just I got bumped off my spots easily, and whatnot. But yeah, I still had a good freshman season. I think I started. I don't know exactly what it was. I think I started like 18, 19, 20 games out of 26 games that year or something. So I still had a great freshman year. I think I averaged like nine points or so. But then I kind of realized that after that year, it's like, I had a effective year, and Coach Sodi trusted me, which was something I'm always thankful for. That's why I chose to play for him because I knew he trusted me. Um, and I kind of just realized if I can do what I did at that size and weight, that what could that look like if I add 30 pounds or 20 pounds?
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I started taking, I kept my basketball workouts the same, but then I really started putting more time and effort into what I was eating and in the weight room. And that's when I kind of took the next step in my career. And then I was a, productive scorer for us and started a bunch of games pretty much from there on out. And I think you would know this, but we changed the culture at Milliken. I still think that we didn't get to my class didn't get to necessarily finish the deal that what I know is going to happen there in the future. But we definitely moved the needle and got it started, and I'm looking forward to seeing the program grow. And I'm happy to say that I got that thing started. So
It is an unfortunate truth that like behind every successful culture change, it's built on the backs of guys who don't get the recognition.
that's right. That's
They
exactly right.
just it's like there's in every high school and every college that had to like revamp stuff in culture, there's some guys put in work. I mean, work that that never even got a winning season. Right. It happens. But it doesn't happen without those guys because culture doesn't change overnight. It is so hard to build.
That's right. Yeah.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Metal Coaching. Hard to build.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, it was, I think I look back at it and at times I'm like, man, why did I commit to Milliken? Or just stuff like that because I think we won one game my senior year of high school. Like we won one game the whole season. Milliken did my senior year of high school, and the program was just at kind of like an all time low. We had a coaching change. Coach Sodi became the head coach, and I immediately knew that I wanted to play for Coach Sodi. And we kind of just used that as I could think it really fit the mold very well, just for me personally because I don't know anybody on here that knows Coach Sodi knows that Coach is big into his faith, and I am as well. So we kind of really related on that level. And then, yeah, I think that chip on my shoulder mentality, kind of going to a Milliken to a place where that hasn't won much in the CCIW. Whenever I had some other opportunities to play at some CCIW schools in the conference that they're used to winning. I'm not going to say any names, but it wouldn't be too hard to guess. But yeah. So I kind of just use it as a chip on my shoulder, and yeah, and then the rest is kind of history, and we ran with it.
Though it's something. I know that I know that we obviously want to win, but I think there's something to be said for kids that are coming out of high school and stuff, and it is going somewhere that needs you, that wants you, that you can start to be to change a program and build a program. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I can't imagine all the lessons you've learned from this that you're going to take on. That was, right. I don't know. There's more to it than, and I hate to say this, but there's more to it than just winning and getting into a program that's already winning. Like sometimes it's
right.
The hard work is the fun part.
Right. And that's something that, whenever I went through the process, I wanted to go somewhere where I thought that people cared about me and on a personal level, regardless of basketball, and a school that I thought I could play right away. And that's what I did. And I've kind of talked about this like in these last couple of months when my career's over. Like if I were to ever do it over again, I would have chose the same place at the same time. And I would have done it all over again, even through some of the hard stuff that we went through. But I know that now that it's all over, the wins and losses, they don't necessarily matter. I would have loved to win more, but the people that I did it with, I know that those guys have my back for life, and I'll always have theirs and appreciate the opportunity they gave me.
Yeah, I know, but I think that comment right there, like I wish we could have won more. I think that
right.
Everybody says that in every situation that they're ever in.
Exactly.
Unless you
cut down the nets at the end of the year, which that's not going to happen for many people.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's there's so much more than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. And that's yeah. I think I found, people in a place that uh I'll always have for life, and that's something that's important to me more than the wins and the losses. Not that I obviously, like I said, I would have loved to win more, but I think we moved the needle, and I came and wanted to change things at Milliken, and I definitely think we did that.
Well, you absolutely, you can tell, you can definitely say that you know, the old expression, you found, you left a place better than you found it.
Absolutely.
And
Definitely.
there's just no doubt about that, right? I mean,
No doubt.
you didn't, I mean, you got at least one all conference nomin like award, and you got 1,000 points, and you
Yep.
got, I mean, you got a heck of a lot more wins leaving
Right.
than they did when you came in. We know that.
That's right. That's right. And all that stuff, that's another thing too, like the 1,000 points in the all conference. Like when it's all said and done, it's not it's fun in the moment, but when it's all said and done, that stuff, not that it doesn't mean anything to me, but it's that's not what I'm gonna miss about the game or what I'm gonna remember
Right.
about the game. Um, so yeah, I would just think that the amazing people, like my teammates and my coaches, and the memories we had together, and the hard times we went through together, and waking up early to work out and grinding by myself. I think all the characteristics and traits and people I met will I'll remember all that stuff more than the accolades and the wins and losses, honestly. So
Yeah. So I want to talk about this. I want to dive into this idea of the chip on your shoulder.
yeah.
When do you start? When do you first notice that this is a way that you're going to have to play? Is it a conscious thing, or is it just like
Yeah, I mean, I
you've
think
always had?
yeah, I think it's kind of always, I mean, I just think ever since I was a kid, my grandparents have always told me, like, I always wanted to play basketball. Like, I was always basketball, basketball, basketball. I was always in the gym. Like, my grandparents would tell me, like, they would babysit me or have me for the afternoon, and I would be over there and I would cry and cry and cry. And then when they would turn on Sports Center or a basketball game, I would just be dead quiet and watch at like the age of like 3 or 4. And so I've always been a basketball guy, but and that was that's always been my passion, still is my passion. And just the way my body's built and my physique, basketball is probably not the right sport for a guy like me. Um, but and I guess so, like back to my size, I was honestly I played baseball in junior high. I was a good baseball player, but my friends and my buddies and coaches had to beg me to even come out for the team because I just didn't. I liked baseball; it was fun and I was good at it, but I didn't have a burning desire to play baseball. And I probably would have been able to have a more successful baseball career or whatever, just because my body type would have been able to. I had a higher ceiling in that sport, I guess you could say. But I guess just being smaller and always, you know, people counted me out, kind of like you said. Like people were surprised that a guy that's my size can play in college or be the best player on a team or compete with all these other people who have bigger bodies and bigger names and look the part a lot more. I guess I kind of just that fueled my fire. I guess a lot of times just knowing people probably counted me out before they even watched me play.
Yeah. So how do you go about like developing? Like you said, fueling that fire and developing that chip, like, and playing with that level of confidence. How did was there? Is it an intentional way that you built it up? Like,
Yeah,
what did you do?
so I would just say, I guess I'll start with my thought process when it came to like basketball as I went on throughout my career. I guess I had to be the most confident and kind of have like some, I guess, swagger or cockiness, I guess, to my game because that's just how I had to play to um, you know, had to get myself. I had to play that way, or if I didn't, then the other team could kind of smell blood or see blood if I wasn't out. If I was out there and I was the smallest person, and they thought I was scared, then that's how I knew I was in trouble because they can sense that. But I would just say that mainly came with just the work ethic on an everyday basis of getting shots up every day and just being around the game, watching basketball at night, picking up on, player tendencies, watching extra film. Like I know I'm going to be guarding this guy and he has pounds and quickness and athleticism on me. So I'm going to have to pick up on this dude's tendencies before we play them because if I don't know a little bit more about him than he knows about me, I'm going to be in trouble just because he has all the athleticism and strength, like I just said, on me. Then I'm going to have to lock into those extra things and make sure that I have a step ahead of him on just small stuff like that. But just knowing that, that having the idea in my head, like even if it's not true, but just telling myself in my head, like people are counting me out, like and there would be times like in high school, I guess this is just an example off the top of my head, but like me being a coach's son, like how that goes. People just say, well,
Yeah.
he's the coach's son. Obviously, like he's getting special treatment. He's not that good. Whatever, whatever. And that's kind of how it was. Like my sophomore year of high school, I had surgery my freshman year, but my sophomore year, I think that's really when that chip on my shoulder mentality kind of started. Like I hadn't proven it. I mean, we had good teams in junior high, but that means nothing when you get to the high school level.
Not yeah.
And so I kind of just use that as like, there's obviously, I was a sophomore. At that time, I was honestly probably like 5'9", 125, like smallest kid on the floor. And my dad didn't, I believed I was one of the best 5 players on that team. And, my dad didn't start me because he knew he wanted me to earn it and have
Yeah.
other people see that I earned it rather than just being, he'd rather have me earn it than start me and me not play well. And then the noise comes in.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, it's fair.
Yeah, and so I'll never forget my sophomore year intercity it was at IWU. We have the intercity tournament every year. It's always packed. Pretty much the whole town's there. And I remember I was the smallest kid by far. I came off the bench. We were playing Normal West, and I think I had like 20 points in that game or something. And that was my first high school game, first high school varsity game. And I think ever since then, I just kind of kept that chip on my shoulder. Just
Did he
realizing,
start
like,
you after that?
Actually, no. I just kept playing pretty well.
Oh, come on, Dad.
Before the four inner city games, I played pretty well, and then after inner city, he finally put me in the lineup. So.
Yeah. No, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
No, I there's so much in what you said right there. And when you're that chip on the shoulder, we're talking about confidence, right? And having confidence. Yes. Confidence has to be based. Well, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? So,
absolutely,
like confidence has to be based on something real, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Your confidence was not going to be based on the fact that you were the biggest, fastest, strongest, right? So it had. Definitely I hear you saying like it had to be based off of you putting in more shots than everybody else. It's you knowing who you're going to guard and have the scout down and stuff like that. And I think I think you have to, because I talk with kids all the time about building confidence. Confidence has to be evidence based. Like you have to go find what you're. Yeah.
For me, I guess I could never be confident without the work that I put in, and I could never, be comfortable going out there and being confident without making sure. Like if I knew I came to a game and I wasn't as prepared as I could be, I could literally feel that chip on my shoulder and that confidence lacking, and I wouldn't play as well. And that's how I knew, like, that's how I knew I have to be that locked in on the extra work and the attention to detail and all the other things, or else I wasn't going to be able to, reach my ceiling. And that's kind of Coach Sody's thing too, is like, fill your cup to the top. That's his thing. And throughout my career, I definitely feel like I did fill my cup to the top. My cup might not have been as big as everybody else's just because of my the body I was given and the athleticism I was given, but I definitely think I maxed out my cup.
Yeah, I think and I always am interested in what creates a good situation that creates a good coach, right? So a lot of times people think that, well, the best player is going to create the best coach, and that's not always the case, right? And I think that I'm interested in to see what it is as you start to coach players that you are like, that you say that they don't do, that you're like, I can't even believe this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's because that's the problem with coaching is you get in and people don't, like, you give this advice and you give these suggestions and then they don't do it. Right.
Yep.
I'm curious where you're going to be, like where the angst is going to come from you for you.
Yeah. So I'll just start off with this. We had our first day of camp, I guess, was the day after Memorial Day, and my first time, like, so we had our freshman group come in, just freshmen, and then we had the JV varsity after, and my little brother's actually a freshman, and I know a lot of the boys from his
Okay.
grade, and they're great kids, and they have a great talented group coming up, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do. But being in a college practice the last 4 years and then transitioning to freshman basketball,
Oh.
I kind of looked at my dad and I was like, man, this is, I don't know if I signed up for this. No, but I was just like, wow, like just some of this, like it was just the small stuff and even big stuff, like stuff that I didn't even think I'd have to say. I didn't even think I'd have to say stuff that they weren't even picking up on, like just small stuff, like, when you're out, you got to talk, like clap when you're out, energy, like it was just small
Mhm.
stuff I didn't even think I'd have to bring up that I realized, okay, like we really, especially at the freshman level, got to build, you got to take them step by step. And by the end of the week, they did improve a ton by the end of the week, which was great to see. But, just starting from that base foundation of, I think personally, like my big thing is like, you got to bring energy, because I think energy is contagious. If everybody's there and kind of just, lukewarm about what they're doing, or doesn't, you're having a bad day, or every kind of quiet. I think even if you have to fake it and be um, super obnoxious and energetic, I think that creates, it's contagious, like I said, and then everybody starts getting energized, and
Yeah.
the practice and games are more impactful, and you get more out of kids because they feel comfortable giving it all they have and being as energetic and passionate as they can be.
Well, and energy is controllable, right? You can bring energy.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think it's such a great way to start, having that energy. I'm curious, you being a very, very fresh former player, right? And
Yep.
so you are, when we're talking about coaching today's athlete, you're today's athlete, or just barely yesterday's
Right.
athlete. Like,
Yesterday's. Yeah.
what is your, like, what is the mindset, or like what kind of coach are you thinking you want to be, right? To be able to reach kids.
Yeah. So I think my dad and I are a lot different in that sense. I think for me personally, I think that to reach kids, I think that you have to take time to a build the relationship with them, and then b set a clear standard of what you expect out of them. And I'm a big believer in setting expectations for kids that are very challenging for them to get to. Because I think kids, and especially high school age, they don't necessarily even know what they're capable of. Yet that they have these, I want to play Division 1 basketball, or I want to do this or that, or I want to go pro, or you know, this level I'm too good for that level. But yet they don't apply themselves and even do what's necessarily to play at any level, at the next level.
Yeah.
Um, so that's my main thing, is I just think that you have to build a relationship with them and make sure they know that you care about them, and um, I'm doing what I can to for your best interest, and doing what I can to help you, and that I care about the program and our team and wins and losses, but more importantly, helping them become better and win, just necessarily in the game of life. I would just say that. And then, like I said, just setting setting a standard or something that they can set the standard at and be firm every day on it. So, like Coach Sodi said, something that would stick through me is be at your best no matter the circumstance. And that's something that I think that I'm definitely going to use. Just, everybody has bad days, everybody has stuff going on, um, at home or at work, or their girlfriend broke up with them, or
Yeah.
they got a bad grade on a test, and everybody's going through stuff, and that's
What's the
absolutely
what's
understandable.
the what are the standards, like, that, we talk about these standards you're going to hold them up to? Like, you got in mind, like you got
Yeah.
like this. I'm just curious if you've done any, like these are the standards I want to look for and really want to push guys to. And because when you're talking
Okay.
about kids that want to go Division 1, right, and all this,
Mhm.
like, every kid wants to go Division 1, of course, right? It's just
Right.
what they want to do.
Absolutely.
But there's a definite disconnect between what it takes to do that and what they actually, the standards they hold themselves to. And that's a great way that you put it, right? Like,
Right.
if you want to do this, then you got to hold yourself to the standards. What are the standards you think you want to apply or hold
Yeah.
kids to as you
So,
get into
and
coaching?
that's the thing that, so the standards, I want all of my standards to be things that are controllable. So not necessarily, you know, average certain amount of points, or, not that type of standard. Standards like I said, energy, being a good teammate, being a leader, showing up on time, and then, like I said, giving your best no matter the circumstance, and that comes with everyday work, and regardless of what's going on outside of, practice or a game. But whenever you step in that gym, or whatever sport you're in, whatever you're doing, when you step in that place, you got to have those characteristic traits. Like I said, you got to be a good teammate, you got to lead, and you got to be a person that other people want to be around, because there's a lot of kids around the world that they have the talent to go far, but they lack in those specific standards. And it's at the college level. If you're a really good player, and you're not a good person, you're not a good leader, and you don't care about your teammates, people are going to pass up on you, and that's just the reality of it. And I think just by doing some of those things, those standards that I just said, you're going to be ahead of a lot of people if you stick to those standards consistently.
Mm. No, and I love it. I love that you're talking about them being controllable, because I think that's, at the end of the day, we all start to look at things we can't control, and it causes all the
Right.
anxiety, and that's where we get all that
Right.
stress comes from. But I think if you start every day with, here's what my controllables are, and I'm going to work on this, it's really, really good. Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport, and they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Metal Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set. It's just a great way to start. What's the what are some obviously your dad, and you've mentioned Coach Sodi. What are some other coaches, or some things that you want to like steal from different coaches, ideas, thoughts,
Yeah.
energies, things
So
like that you want to borrow from?
yeah. So I'm just a big. I'm a big, like, just coaches that show passion. I guess I'm big in, like Dan Hurley's a guy that, I'm a big Illinois fan, but and it hurt me real bad when they beat Illinois so bad in the or the Elite Eight. But he's a guy that, just from a coach's standpoint, I know nothing about Dan Hurley personally. Obviously, I know people have their opinions on him as a
He's not
person.
my favorite guy because
Yeah,
of the
but
way he. If you're looking for a passionate guy, you're not going to get more passionate. I will tell you that.
right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's my reasoning for. I would guess I'd say, like, I guess the better way to say is I don't like him because I don't know him personally, but I respect him because of the way he coaches. He's passionate. You just know that, like I said, he sets a standard. I don't know if you've seen, there's like clips from his practice, but like it's just small things. Like he gets on like the GAs or the managers because they didn't pass the
Yeah.
ball in time, but like just that kind of thing. Like he sets that standard in his program that, if you're not going to be ready, regardless of if you're a GA, a walk on, if you're Stefan Castle or Donovan Kling and you're about to go top 10, he holds you to that standard. And that's what I respect about him, because from what I've seen in the clips I've seen about him, he holds each person or player in his program to a specific standard. And that's something that I can respect because and then he, not only that, he backs it up with, the standard he has for himself and his work ethic.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Is right. He's one of those guys that he works as hard as anybody, or better, more than anybody. So he can
Right.
hold guys up to that. So yeah, I just he's one of those guys that I have to laugh at the way he treats
Yeah.
officials and does it, like.
And then
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
but
Yeah.
But as far as the passion goes, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, and then Coach DeVries at Indiana. I've been a huge fan of his because my dad had a former player, Nick Norton, who is on his staff now. But I've kind of been tracking their teams because Nick's been with them for a little bit now. But he's always been. I think they just actually released Indiana men's basketball, released a clip, and he's a big energy guy. Like he was preaching in their first practice the other day that their energy now has to be the same, and as it's easy to have energy now in day one, but whenever we get to practice 300 and 300 or 350 or whatever it is, that energy, you have to bring that same energy then, because it's not going to be as fun and new then as it is now. But that energy is so important. And even there at the Big Ten, Indiana's one of the most well-known college basketball programs, and they're preaching energy. And they have players on their roster getting paid $5 million, whatever it is, and they're preaching energy on their first day. That's inspiring to me. So
here's what I appreciate is that they are acknowledging the fact that they kind of have to address energy, right?
Yes.
Because I hear it's very common now for coaches to say, well, I don't teach effort and hustle. Like, you have to have it. And I'm like, it's nice that you say that, but you do. You have to teach that stuff to every, you just do, because like you said, day 300, you're going to, like, if you're not focusing on it, it's not as high as it could be.
Right. And I think that energy leads to your potential as a full team or as a full player. If you're lacking, maybe just having that one teammate that does have energy that day will bring your energy up, or pick your energy up and make you better that day. And I think that type of thing, like I said, that standard, that could be an everyday thing that can make you a better player in terms of skills and what you can get your cup to at the end. So I just think basic standards like that, and setting a standard and making them controllable things and attention to small details is massive.
I agree. I think it's worth coaching that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and not ignoring
what I said.
it.
Like I said, at the freshman basketall
of
level
course
in
you
high
have.
school,
Yes.
we were talking about energy, but then Coach DeVries in Indiana is also talking about energy on day one at Indiana. So that's clearly something that, no matter what level you're at, that energy travels. So
yeah, it does. All right. So here's a fun question. I kind of held this one towards the end here. What's going to be the first? What's going to be? You're working under your dad now, right?
Yep, that's right.
What's going to be the first? What's going to be the first argument? Like, what's that going to be over? And how's that? And how's that going to go?
I think that. Well, first of all, actually, he respects my opinion, I guess, more than I imagined he would. I don't know if that's just because
I'm sure he does.
Once I graduated from Central Catholic, we talked about his teams almost every day. Like, so I've kind of, I haven't been on staff, but we've done a lot of talking and game planning on teams when I was at Milliken, and so I guess it's different because my ideas, he would kind of just either use them or not use them, and I wouldn't really get feedback if he used them or not. But we would talk coaching strategies before. But I would say it's probably going to be most likely what we're running on offense.
I was going to say that was probably going to be more on that, but yeah.
Or like, it's just small things like he's a big hedge of screen guy. I kind of tend towards I like switching if you have the personnel for it. I think it eliminates a lot of actions that teams run if you can learn how to switch properly and communicate well. But he's always been a big hedge guy for sure. So that's one thing that I've noticed. I'm like, I'm not no, but that might be one thing. And then just offensive ideas. He's actually let me, have a lot of input on, especially the X's and O's side of it. So we're trying some new stuff out already with the offense that's been going well. So we haven't really had a disagreement yet on much, but I know there will be a lot. That's good. That's good. I think I told him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's June.
And I think that if your assistant coach always agrees with you, then that's not a good thing. I think you want different
I agree.
opinions coming in, and being father son, I know that whatever I tell him, he's not going to take that personally. If I think he has a crappy idea or a bad game plan, I'll let him know, and I think that if I tell him something and it doesn't work out right, he'll let me know, and it's not going to be personal, but we can hold each other accountable.
Yeah. Okay. You want a little assistant coach advice?
Let's hear it.
All right.
I'm just getting started, so any advice I'll
You
take.
always back in public and always criticize in private.
That's right. Absolutely. That
That's some.
anybody anything about the program is always in public always has to be it's the best
Yep.
program in the world. But
It's-
then whenever we get in private, that's when we work on improving things on a day-to-day basis for sure.
yeah, that's some good stuff. You don't need a father son knockdown drag out in the
No.
fourth quarter, right?
No. No. And then I think maybe I'll get him out of a couple technicals. I might be able to tell when he's got
You
to get to a
you
tackle.
you really might be a big benefit there. You could
Yeah.
actually affect the score of the game.
That's right. He he
Yeah,
he got he actually got tossed last year in the intercity tournament against Community, and I was looking at the video. I was like, if I was there, he might have got one, but he definitely would have got the
he's
second
not.
one.
That's fantastic. No, it's I'm so excited for you. It's going to be a great opportunity for you. And then you're doing this a year, but then what's the plan after that?
Yeah, so I'm doing this for a year. I'm finishing out my student teaching, and then I'm going to try to be a graduate assistant somewhere for a men's basketball team. I'm going to get my master's and try to work my way into the college coaching world, which is the ultimate goal. And it's going to be good to, I guess, see the basics of, I think I'll have a lot more hands on with this year in the coaching aspect of like the X's and O's part, but then with the GA, it's almost like a glorified manager at the highest levels that I'm trying to go to, and being able to use everything I learned at Central and through my playing career, and then kind of just chase that dream of being a college coach at the highest level possible, and holding myself to the standards that I want to hold my players to. Um, and yeah, I'm just gonna chase my dream, and that's coaching college basketball at the highest level I can. So
That's outstanding, and that's a that's a fun goal to chase. It's going to have a lot of ups and downs, I would imagine.
absolutely, yeah, that's kind of the scary part about it, but I know that it's my passion and it's my dream, and I'm going to chase it. So,
Outstanding. All right, last question. What did I not ask you that I should have, JT?
Hmm. I guess we kind of hit on it, but my main thing was like we really already talked about it. But I guess my message for all young recruits or players is just go somewhere that you're wanted and that people care about you, because when things don't start going your way when you get there, and people don't care about you, and um, you haven't built a good relationship with them, then it's gonna put you in a bad spot as a person and as a human being on that campus outside of that sport. So go somewhere where you're valued and that people care about you, I guess is the message I wanted to send, but we kind of already hit on that. So
No, but I think it's worth repeating because it's not like you can't make it all a basketball decision.
absolutely.
It just can't.
Because when injuries or basketball doesn't go your way, then you're left with who knows what, and that's when the mental health and the darker side of sports can come back to haunt you. So that's what I would that's my main thing, is just go where people care about you.
Yeah. No, because you had some ups and downs in college. I mean, I didn't know if you were going to get
For
to
sure.
finish your senior year.
That was my yeah. This year I learned a lot about myself, but I mean when I went down, I kind of was just like an assistant coach for a couple of weeks, and not a lot of places that you could go and a coach would trust you to sit on the bench and give input during a game. And I was able to kind of start my coaching career actually a little bit earlier
Yeah.
than I would have liked. But I was able to. I was probably about 60, 65, 70% healthy when I came back, but I wanted to lace them up a couple more times, and yeah, I don't
Absolutely.
regret anything. But yeah, it was definitely, if I didn't have people around me that I knew cared about me, and when I went down, it would have been a lot tougher. I don't know what I would have done because I was down, but those people lifted me up and gave me an opportunity to help in different ways, even though I wasn't able to be out there. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, JT, great conversation. I sure thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me. Go Big Blue.
You bet. Go Big Blue, and I'll get over there and catch a Saints game sometime this year.
That's right. I'll have to send you our schedule for sure.
You will do. Sounds good. Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they can still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great. They're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mental Metal Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website, get started on the journey to a more confident, successful athlete with Mental Metal Coaching. Love that interview with JT Welch, former Millikan player, now an assistant coach at Bloomington Central Catholic. Just how we took that idea of him playing with a chip on his shoulder and just connecting it with confidence. And I think that I want to look at it from a couple different ways, depending if you're a player or a parent of a player and a coach. And let's talk about that confidence and how it's built and what you can take from a guy who played like JT, who played like he did, he was not getting it done if he didn't have confidence. It was not going to happen. Without confidence, he wouldn't be, and we wouldn't just say not as successful as he is if he wouldn't have, he was razor thin on what he'd be able to do. If he didn't have confidence at the level he did, he's not on the team, right? At his size. He just had to have that confidence. And I think what you can pick from that as a player is you have to put in the work to build the confidence. JT, we didn't, it's funny. Every time I talk to a player like that does that, we never really track like how many hours, how many shots. We don't talk about it all the time, but there's a good guess if you're a player that it's probably more than you think. You're probably, it's a lot. The amount of shots you need to put up, the amount of work focusing on your, in the weight room, your diet, your sleep, your shots, it has to be something you really work on, because when we get to developing confidence, okay, your subconscious knows if you've done enough. They do. It does. And if it becomes part of your routine where you're like, I did something today to get better, whether it's getting enough shots up or taking care of my diet or getting the rest that I needed or working on my ball handling, you and your subconscious know if you put up enough shots. They do. And you can't fake that. You cannot fake that confidence if your subconscious knows you're really not putting the time in. And so it's something that you have to put the work in. And he kind of said it. He said, when you've done it, you'll know if you've done enough, because there's really not much else you could have done. And I think that's kind of what is missing sometimes is, and this is a lot to the players that are listening to this, like, if you're doing it or you're not. And you might be telling your coach, your parents you are, but if you haven't. And it needs to be something that's a maturity thing that you like are my expectations for my growth and the level I want to reach is my work reaching that. Are they on the same level? And that needs to be something you can do. And when you start to put that work in, then the confidence comes, then that chip on your shoulder, and then you can play with that confidence. And it's that confidence is so evidence-based. Like I said, it comes from things you can control, putting in your work, doing the things that you know make you better. And I think the advice there for coaches, I get uptight about this when I hear coaches talk about how we don't coach effort and hustle. I think they're missing something. I mean, when you talk about that, then you're talking about, well, what are you coaching? You're just coaching basketball skills or whatever game and you're not coaching these other things. Well, that means you're doing a lot of coaching on things that are uncontrollable. So what I mean by that is like, I talk about things that are 100% controllable versus not 100% controllable. And like when we work on somebody's shots, we're running a play or whatever we want to do. We're doing something we want to get better at because we want to influence it, make more shots, win more games. You run the plays right, we win more games, things like that. But they're all subject to somebody else, the officials, the other team, all sorts of things. And things can go wrong, and they always do, and it's Murphy's Law. But there's a lot to be said for the things that nobody can touch, bringing energy, effort, hustle, things like that. And I think as a coach, you need to be coaching those things because those are the only things that nobody can touch and nobody change. And there's some really good research out there. There's a guy, Albert Bandura, that talks about self-efficacy. And if you get it, I get into the psychology of this stuff, and it's really, really cool. But basically what he says is if you start to focus, if you start to believe that you can affect things in your life, all right, so that means focusing on controllables. Like if I can affect my life because I'm going to hustle, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to bring energy. If a player thinks about that, they're going to be more motivated to get things done because they believe that something they're doing makes a difference. And if they believe something they're doing makes a difference, they're going to be more motivated. Well, if we're more motivated, we know motivation equals more success. It just does. Now, there's uncontrollables in there, but as motivation goes up, success goes up. And as success goes up, our emotional well-being goes up as well, right? So they're all connected. So if you want that emotional well-being, a lot of times that comes out as confidence in the next game or the next situation. If you want that, you have to start by focusing on things you can control. And that's why it's so important for coaches to do that. Focus on that because it increases that motivation, it increases that success. And again, confidence is evidence-based. So even if it's the smallest little bit of success, it doesn't have to be winning a game, but you just get better at something. You make more shots. Your ball handling gets better. You run things on a timer, and you do things better. You're hitting better in the cage or all these things. When you get that confidence is built on a little bit of that success. And I think it has to start with things you can control. Again, bringing energy, bringing effort, bringing hustle. And as a coach, you have to focus on those things. You have to teach those things. If they don't know how to bring energy, teach them how to bring energy. If they don't know how to hustle, teach them how to hustle, right? By example, by showing them things, talking to them about things, and giving expectations. JT talks about those, his expectations. He wants them to be controllable. And I think he's going to have success that he does that. And it's something that I work on. I'm describing a session that I do with every athlete I do and every team that I do. And if you really don't understand this, or you're not quite sure how to implement, or you're like a parent, you're talking about your kid and they just don't understand this, it's some of the stuff that I do working this. When I talk about doing this mental performance coaching and developing mental toughness, people don't really understand what that is. Well, it's psychology based, it's evidence based, it's understanding how psychology works and using psychology to our advantage, and saying, hey, if I work on these controllables, effort and hustle, I can do this and I can do that. This, and that's how we get confidence, and then we can apply that to everything. And that's how that works. But you got to get the ball rolling. You got to get the momentum going in that direction. And that is something I love what I do, because once we get that momentum going, there's no stopping kids, right? They just do so well. So if you like that idea, by all means, that's what I'm here for. That's what I do that mental performance coaching with athletes, teams, coaches, and I'd love to help you do that, just to develop kids that have that confidence, can play with that positive chip on their shoulder. And I love doing that. So again, great episode. Thanks for joining. I can't thank you enough. Like, share, subscribe. The podcast is growing, and it's all because of people like you that are doing that. So I can't thank you enough, but we're out of time. So I'm Coach Thomann. This has been the Mental Metal Podcast, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Metal Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Metal Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Metal Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.